Hey everybody, it's me Zach, this is Judy, and welcome back to our channel. Hey everybody, how are you doing today? I hope you're doing well. Today I want to talk about something a little bit more serious regarding Foodie Booty, Chantal Marie, whoever, whatever. And honestly, Judy doesn't even want to film with me today. That's like the second time she has jumped off this chair. So it must be a sign that she doesn't want to be around this negative energy today that is Chantal. But I'm going to go there because honestly, truly, what I wanted to do today, what I had planned to do today, was that I was going to wake up, I was going to react to this mukbang she did with Carly Steele. And I was gonna put on this stupid doily, not stupid at all, but this doily. I got this doily made by one of my Twitch moderators. I was gonna plug this new whoever, whatever merch that is now available on my merch site. If you wanna go check that out, go do it. I'll maybe talk about it more later. But you know what we're gonna do? None of that. None of that. And honestly, there's so much we could talk about in Chantal world. Like, she literally restarted her OnlyFans and then like had the stream fail on her, and like I said, she did that mukbang, that collab, all of that stuff. But no, instead we're going to talk about something more serious because Chantal just can't help herself but to bring in marginalized people and identities and groups and communities in order to try to bring down the people around her that she doesn't like. So what I will say before I get too far into this video is that I'm under no illusion that Chantal is going to be a changed person. At this point, we've talked about this like ad nauseum, okay? Like, this is not the first time we're talking about her being a bald bigot. Well, I mean, the bald part is kind of sort of new, but like the bigotry has been there for a long time. There's a long list of examples of her using racist language, ableist language, anti-Semitic language, and so truly it's not anything new when it comes to Chantal being a bigot or behaving in bigoted ways. I think my overall goal is just to like highlight the things that I've seen and maybe have a conversation with people in the community about why these things aren't okay and why these things are problematic. Like I said, I know she's not going to change, but I do know that there are like well-meaning people in the community who might not understand like why the things that Chantal are saying are bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand that some of you might not understand that concept or those things, and while it's not my job to necessarily educate people, like, I do feel like as a queer person, I have some ability to talk about it with the platform that I have here on YouTube. And I also recognize that I'm only going to be highlighting a few clips. Like I said, I mean, this has been pretty much par for the course when it comes to me covering Chantal in the past like year, but like, it's hard to keep up with every single ridiculous thing that Chantal does. And so, yeah, I probably am not including every relevant clip, everything that ever existed, and I'm sure there's more than just what I'm including, but the things that I'm including just by themselves is enough. So let me just start with like the first clip that I saw, I think it was like a couple days ago, to be honest with you, and I think it's about Nodder. I'm not really sure. I didn't watch the actual live stream itself, and I don't have the context for whatever happened before and or after this particular clip. I just saw it tweeted on Twitter, I think by Charlie Gold, if I'm being honest. I think a lot of these things are from Charlie Gold on Twitter, so a lot of these clips, that is. So I don't necessarily have the context. I believe it's about Nodder. I don't know that it matters who it's about because, as I'm about to say, in like content warning, this whole video is going to cover homophobia, transphobia, even some ableism. So if those things are a no-go for you, like, feel free to click off. But yeah, based on what she said, I don't know that there's a lot that could provide context that would make this an okay thing to say. You know what I'm saying?
You look like a fruit fly. Don't you talk about my looks, you're like too worn. You look like a fucking giraffe on crack with AIDS. You look like a fucking giraffe camel with AIDS. Okay? You fucking silkworm fruit fly.
So if you don't know, a few months ago, I think, Chantal got gonorrhea, assumably from Nodder himself, honestly, truly. And in a live stream, she said this, like, awful, like statement about how he must have gotten it from somebody really disgusting like a man, and that she had heard that things like gonorrhea spread easier from men to men. Which is funny because saying all that, like despite all of that, she was a straight woman who got it from a man who cheated on her. Okay, so like she could say all of these things about how he must have gotten it from somebody disgusting, whoever, whatever, but says you are a straight woman who got it from a man. So. And I did actually make a video about it at the time, and I don't want to like repeat every single thing I said in that video, but I will leave it linked in case you want to know my thoughts about that whole situation. I'll leave it linked in a pinned comment. But this overall continuing of the stereotype that like gay men are diseased, that we're spreading the disease faster and things like that is just like a homophobic stereotype that is really used against us by people that don't actually care if we're healthy or not. Because the reality is that there was an AIDS epidemic that largely did impact gay men and nobody gave a shit at the time. That's the problem with it. Like, say what you want about whatever you think about gay men having higher rates of whoever, whatever. Like, the fact is that the people that are leveraging STIs and AIDS and HIV against our community are people who don't give a fuck about us, okay? Chantal included. Like, she doesn't care. She doesn't care if people have AIDS or HIV. Like, she doesn't care. That's why she uses that as an insult, because she thinks it's gross, she thinks it's dirty, she thinks it's bad. And this attachment of some kind of, like, moral superiority or, like, moral inferiority for having something like AIDS or an STI or gonorrhea is that you shouldn't attach any kind of moral value to an STI because anybody can get it. Even Chantal, who I believe is on like her second gonorrhea scare, if I'm following correctly on YouTube and Twitter, okay? And that doesn't make Chantal a bad person because lots of people get STIs. Like, chances are you know somebody in your personal life who's had an STI before. So regardless of all of that, using AIDS as an insult to somebody is at worst homophobic and at best ableist, right? But also, it's just like shitty to use any kind of illness or ailment or anything as an insult. Like, she's out here saying that he looks like he has AIDS, but like, would you be okay with somebody saying that somebody looked like they had cancer? Like, what the fuck? No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't, and you would think that person was an asshole. And I think we all agree that Chantal's an asshole for saying that somebody looks like they have AIDS, because, like, what the fuck? And honestly, she doesn't even care that she's offending other people, just to be clear.
When did I use HIV as an insult? What are you guys even talking about? Oh, well, whatever. Fuck off. Be offended then. I'm not allowed to make a fucking joke.
And so yeah, no, I don't really expect her to change. It's not something that I expect to come from this video by any means. I don't expect her behavior to improve. I just don't. I don't have those kinds of expectations for Chantal because I don't set expectations that I know are never going to be met. And this is also not limited to Chantal. Like I mentioned in the last video I made on this subject, like, people are literally in my comments or have made comments in the past about me having AIDS, me being HIV positive. People have made whole videos on YouTube before in the past speculating about whether or not I'm HIV positive. And it's disgusting. It's a way to try to bring me down. Like, if I had HIV, it wouldn't be an issue. And lots of people can live happy, successful, fruitful lives while also being HIV positive. But the bulk of what I actually want to talk about, because I was like even debating whether or not I would make another video about her using something that has impacted the gay community in a way as an insult. I debated on whether or not I was even going to make a video specifically about that because I've talked about it. And I'm like, what else is there to say? Well, now I also want to talk about the transphobic way she talks about Dee Dee. And if you don't know who Dee Dee is now this woman that is in Notter's life. I don't know if they're dating, not dating. It seems to be suggested that there's some kind of like sexual relationship there, but who knows? Honestly, truly, I can't be bothered to watch another live stream for any longer than I have to. But this morning, and we'll get to this clip a little bit later, but this morning I just clicked on a Chantal live stream. I was drinking my coffee, I was gonna play some Fortnite, and I clicked on her live stream, and right as I clicked on it, for whatever reason, she was talking about Dee Dee's sex organs. And you know that, like, Chantal's favorite thing to do when she feels threatened by somebody, when she doesn't like somebody, is to go straight for this person's looks, how they appear, things that she thinks that other people will also think are ugly or unattractive and things like that. Even though, you know, in her case, whether or not I agree with, like, blaming the other woman for anything, like, at a minimum, Chantal has some arguably good thing to be upset about, which is that Dee Dee is the other woman. Like, nobody would expect Chantal to like Dee Dee, I don't think. Like, I don't think any of us have expectations that, like, Chantal should be besties for life with Dee Dee. But instead of just focusing on the fact that Dee Dee is the other woman, she has to make it about her appearance. In particular, like, I've seen a lot of clips of Chantal talking about how big Dee Dee is, how broad her shoulders are.
Last night's video's thumbnail? What the fuck? He's like this, and she's like this, her shoulders. Anyway, not that it matters.
And you know, these things alone might only really be like borderline transphobic. I feel like, you know, you see people using these traits to describe women that they think are manly and things like that. So, like, I don't know, but also, like, women exist with broad shoulders who are big, you know? And it's just like not necessarily transphobic, but also it could just be fat phobic, but Chantal would never fat shame somebody else. Like, fat shaming is bad unless it's that people she doesn't like, you know? But I think it's this particular language about things like her broad shoulders, her being really big, built like a fridge, whoever, whatever, whichever clip you want to put in of Chantal saying this shit about Dee Dee, I think it's those kinds of things that have led to and instigated people and discussing whether or not Dee Dee may or may not be trans, okay? Whether or not Dee Dee may or may not be a man or whoever, whatever. And let me be very clear, because I'm not going to sit here and speculate about whether or not Dee Dee is a woman. Because for all intents and purposes, there is no speculation. Dee Dee is a woman. Not or put it in a title of a live stream. Dee Dee is a real woman. Dee Dee is a woman. There isn't a debate unless Dee Dee comes here and says something else to prove otherwise. So yeah, up until this morning, I wasn't planning on making this video. Then I saw this particular clip from Chantal.
And then her. The fucking ovaries or balls or whatever. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. Office Karen laugh. Shut up, Dee Dee!
And up until then, I don't think that I had seen anything, like, explicitly transphobic, okay? Like, I don't know that I'd necessarily seen anything in particular that suggested that she was, like, just downright speculating on whether or not Dee Dee was a man or a woman, but also I could have missed that because, like I said, I don't watch every single second of Chantal content out there. And of course, there were people in her chat in this live stream who were trying to say, like, Chantal, that's, like, transphobic, you shouldn't say that. And this was Chantal's great response.
Tallulah lives, be angry, you deserve it, don't be transphobic. No, definitely not transphobic. I don't agree with the trans comments about Dee Dee. And whenever I said, I don't know if she is or I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know anything about her. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way.
And since Chantal doesn't seem to understand it, and I'm sure there's people watching this video right now that still don't understand it, let me help you out, okay? It's never really polite in any situation to talk about anybody's genitals, sex organs, whoever, whatever. Like, tell me a time in like your day-to-day life where you feel like it would be appropriate to go up to somebody and ask them about what's in their pants. It wouldn't be appropriate. It just wouldn't. So this obsession over trans people and speculating on what's inside of their pants and who they are, or who you really think they are, is just weird to me. But also this constant speculation over whether or not trans people are the gender that they say they are is dangerous. It leads to putting trans people's safety in jeopardy. It leads to people having job insecurity, things like that. Like, in a lot of places, people can still get fired over stupid shit like this. Okay, so like, you speculating over somebody who is just like trying to mind their own damn business and live their life day to day is dangerous. It's unnecessary, and it does nothing to change your life if Dee Dee or any trans person or whoever, whatever, is who they say they are. Like, it literally has no impact on you. And in fact, the people who are trying to say that Dee Dee might be trans, might be a man, are just doing it as a way to try to bring down Dee Dee and or Nodder. Like it's some horrible thing that Nodder might be sleeping with a trans woman. And guess what? People sleep with trans women all the fucking time, okay? Trans women are desirable, they are attractive, and they are human, they're people. So like, why are we talking about them like this? And to be quite honest with you, Nodder could be so lucky to have a trans woman in his life. Like, honestly, truly. Nodder should be feeling lucky to have whoever he can get in his life, let alone a trans woman, okay? Like, this is not a game to people in the queer community. Like, speculation about who we are is not a game to us. Like, folks just want to be left alone and allowed to live their lives, especially when they're not hurting anybody else, okay? Yes, Dee Dee might be hurting Chantal in the way that, like, she's the other woman in a relationship that who knows if Chantal was even in this relationship with Nodder. So in that way, but like, if Dee Dee is trans, that is not what is hurting Chantal. And besides, like, even if Chantal is actually in a relationship or was in a relationship with Nodder, like, at a minimum, he's at least been cheating on you, Chantal, since he gave you gonorrhea the first time. You want to sit here and speculate and make all these jokes about Dee Dee, but you need to get your own life together, because you're the one that put yourself in this situation with Nodder and have continued to play games with Nodder and his gonorrhea since he gave it to you the first time. So like, just grow up and leave the queer community out of this. We're sick of being your punchline to try to get at other people, and so are all the other marginalized communities that you continue to use to belittle the people you don't like. That's all I have time for today. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe down below, hit the bell button, click like, click share, leave a comment, do what you need to, but I hope you all have a much better day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!